thank you for this opportunity from the sponsors and event holders here. It's looks like this could be a serious event in the future. Disclaimer there, I will have a couple of forward or future-looking statements. Silica sand is the most used and consumed mineral on the planet. About 50 billion tonnes a year gets used. About more than 49 billion tonnes of that goes into concrete. But it's one of these products that you are surrounded by at home. Your whole life you're surrounded by silica sand one way or another. In the home you've got windows, paint, tube lighting, bench tops, LEDs, mirrors, fiberglass bath. Your TV, laptop and monitors got LCDs in it. All of these are silica products. In your car you've got, you're surrounded by glass in there. You don't think about it much when you're driving your car, maybe even the sunroof. The headlamps, the LED lights, the LCD displays, the paint, the tyres. Silicon rubber's been around for quite a while. And if you start talking about the renewable industry, solar panels, both the top and the bottom panels are glass. The ultra clear glass on the top, less quality on the bottom. And by the way, each solar panel's got a couple of grams of silver in it, if you're listening earlier. But also very high-tech portions of the renewables industry. For a start, the high tensile fiberglass yarn is used to make the fiberglass covers that go on wind turbine blades. Mainly because they get belt birds every now and then and don't want to poke a hole in the blade, so it's actually very high-tech fiberglass. But it's a product that you're surrounded by and don't think about. And we've got, we've got a lot of it. We've got a number of projects, they're all in Western Australia. We've got 4 projects there. These are very large. We've got over 1 billion tonnes of sand. We don't need to go looking for sand. There's no exploration risk here. And it is we've got the most advanced non-private silica sand projects in Australia. We're ASX listed. We've got mining leases over 3 of the projects, and environmental approvals and permitting is well underway. I'll get on a bit of detail on that when I get to the other projects. We've got Arrowsmith North, which is 270 kilometres north of Perth, and that'll lead the way, and that's our approvals are well advanced there. And we've got another project, Maluish, which just sits outside of Perth. Arrowsmith North will produce a very high quality foundry sand, but also sand that is suitable for making glass for automobile glass, flat glass, container glass. Maluish is a different proposition, it's a different quality sand, and it's suitable for making glass, ultra clear glass. Now the greatest demand for that is the piece of glass that goes over solar panels, and that's a market that's growing at about 30% per year. Every glass manufacturer in the world wants to be making ultra clear glass, but you have to have the quality sand to be able to make that glass. Maluish has that quality sand, and we've got over 200 million tonnes there as well. It'll also last over 100 years. We're based in Western Australia. When we selected these sites, it was for a couple of reasons. One is that it is all derived from granite. This is eroded from granite, so it's feldspar, but it's full of quartz as well. So it's the quartz crystals we're looking to get and clean up, and that's the product ultimately we sell. But it has #1 highway that runs all the way around Australia, runs past both of our projects that we're looking to develop, and we're also next door to railway lines. Ultimately, for export, this is a bulk product. We've got to get it on the railway line, we've got to get it to a port and export it. We also have 2 gas pipelines run past our projects. Now, Western Australia is a little bit different to the rest of Australia. We have a domestic reservation policy where there's a portion of onshore gas production, or any oil and gas production, has to be sold domestically. So our price of gas currently in Western Australia is the cheapest gas in the world. Now when it comes to making glass, for example, 80% of the cost of producing glass is energy. So having cheap gas nearby is a good deal. But these are very long term. So we do have this potential to be making glass and other downstream opportunities as well. And in fact, we're looking at producing silica flour as well. Arrowsmith North, we've got 200 million tonnes in reserve. That's drilled out. We've drilled out, I think, the first 8 years of production with grade control, so that's a very high quality reserve. And we've completed resource estimates, metallurgical test work, process circuit design, engineering, and we're all the way down to fabrication drawings. So we're ready, when we get approvals and permits here in place, we're ready to pull the trigger on the plant. There's a railway line right next door to the project, and that's got connection to Geraldton. And we've had a number of discussions now with the Geraldton Port. The Geraldton Port is about to start a $350 million port expansion program, and that includes a dedicated storage area for us. There's an opportunity here to have a hybrid gas and or solar power supply. We've just completed an MOU with a company that is investigating us getting access to gas directly from the wellhead. So it is after it's dewatered, but before it's compressed, we'll get power from that. It is the cheapest power solution you can possibly get. Approvals, environmental approvals, no doubt, are the greatest hurdle we've got to get over. Now, there's a couple of reasons for it. One, we're clearing native vegetation, but it's also about 350 hectares. Now, the EPA is fully aware that they have never granted a sand mining concession over such a large area. So it's a big decision they've got to make. They've got to get a lot of scrutiny. They're not particularly well resourced to be looking at this sort of project, so it is pretty slow going and frustrating as hell. We lodged our second to last project description just before Christmas last year. We were assured recently that it requires no further work and it's ready to go to public review, and it's about to be published, and we're waiting on a response to confirm that, and we've been waiting about several weeks to get a letter. So, which is very frustrating, but that's you would think it's not very far away. It then goes to a public environmental review for 4 weeks, and then we have to address those comments, and then it goes to final assessment and a recommendation to the Minister. We've spent some time talking to the Minister. When it hits his desk, he'll deal with it quick smart. Arrowsmith Central is another project we've got up that way. It's at stage 2 of the process. We've lodged, in June last year, we lodged an environmental scoping document. That's a fairly important document. It describes all the studies that are required for the department to make the assessment. Now, if they accept that, you don't have to do any more studies, but you may have to expand on the studies you've already done. But we're waiting for a response on that one as well. We're doing something a little bit different, and this has also thrown the EPA into a bit of a quandary. We're looking to rehabilitate by taking out a slice of the topsoil using a modified bucket on a front end loader. It picks that up and it puts it back to where you've just been mining almost immediately. Now, it's been demonstrated, there have been trials of this particular technique, although nobody's using it on large scale projects, but this has been trialled, and it is by far the most superior method to get the best rehabilitation response. So we're looking to use this on our projects, and particularly when you look at, this is Arrowsmith North, all this scrub up here is about waist high. The root systems only go 200-300 mil down, and we're looking to take a 400mm slice. So it gets all the root systems, all the little invertebrates, but it keeps the topsoil intact. So go and replace it, you're transplanting it, so it gets good response. Maluish, this will follow, this is also subject to EPA approval. However, all the work we've done at Arrowsmith North reflects on Maluish. So every study that we've done at Arrowsmith North that's been required by the EPA, we have repeated here at Maluish. So we're ready to go. Once again, this is about 400 hectares we'll be applying for here. It'll have about 200 million tonnes. It's 50 k's north of Perth. It's got a railway line next to it. The same number 1 highway runs right past it. Same gas pipelines run past it. Water we'll have to access from the Yarragadee, which is down about 600 metres. It's a long way to go, but there's a lot of water there. We've been granted the mining lease and a couple of miscellaneous licences for access, but this can produce a sand that is in incredibly high demand. We've got 65 companies that registered an interest to buy this, 45 from China. But everybody wants this because this is the sand you have to buy to be able to make ultra clear glass, particularly for solar panels. So everybody wants this. I think we've got requests at the moment for about 13 million tonnes a year. We can't even produce that. And in fact, all of our work at the moment is to set up there to produce about 2 million tonnes a year. But it's got great potential for manufacturing glass. It's very similar countryside, but the recalcitrant species here are the little grasses and sedges that you see around the bottom. The taller trees there are a banksia. They can be propagated easily, and we tube plant them. It's really the grasses and sedges that you've got to deal with here. Our VDT project, our process there, deals with these grasses and sedges far better than anything else. The processing, it's quite simple, but key to it, in fact, is attritioning. Now, attritioning is an agitated slurry where the grains rub on each other and you polish these little quartz crystals. The cleaner you get the quartz crystal, the better sand product that you end up with. The rest of the process is just to get rid of the stuff that you rubbed off the grains. So it's only fresh water, no chemicals involved in it, no toxic. There's some chemicals in the thickener. And then it's screen it and you've got a final product. We take our ESG responsibilities quite seriously, and we're always looking at opportunities to engage with our stakeholders, and we're also actively looking at ways to reduce our power requirements and energy requirements, and we're also looking at alternatives to try and use low emissions for low emission energy sources as well. So we're actively on that all the time. We've got a number of initiatives. We've been shortlisted for a grant from the state government. We're in the process of completing the paperwork on that. That's for $2 million to produce silica flour. Silica flour, the main market there is LCDs, and there's a hot market for it. And what we've found is at Maluish we can take a particular size fraction there, and we can. It's about 80 ppm iron. Now, iron is the enemy when it comes to making very high-tech glass. And what we found is we can process that into a flour and in fact get it down to 50 ppm. So it's about 4 nines silica and 50 ppm iron. Just before Christmas we were published in an Austrade publication, the Critical Minerals Prospectus. Austrade use that whenever they have trade delegations, they take this prospectus with them and promote the companies that are within it. We're in there for both Arrowsmith and Maluish. VDT, we're actually conducting a trial, we're setting up to conduct a trial at Maluish, mainly to see how we can deal with those taller trees. We've made 3 applications for geothermal power. Some of the hottest rocks in Western Australia happen to be right underneath our projects. So we've made those applications a year ago. We're still waiting on a response for that. And very importantly, looking at this, getting power directly from the wellhead. The Waitsia and Bahara Springs gas field is right next door to our Arrowsmith North project. And in fact, the gas field runs underneath our project at about 4,000 metres. It's a great alternative power supply. Team pretty small. We don't have a lot of people, but very experienced and getting more experienced in sand all the time. Corporately, we've got about 500 odd million shares out there. It's really the price has drifted off because the news flow while you're in the EPA process is very slow, and obviously shareholders are as frustrated as we are. We've got a few bucks in the bank. We're not spending a lot of money now. All the money that was required for studies and engineering is spent. We've done that, so we're ready to go. So really, it's talking about silica sand. The world is actually running out of silica sand, and particularly good quality silica sand. So when you think down the beach, forget that. That's potentially mainly calcium carbonate. And when you look at desert sands, there's that sort of reddy orange tinge to it. That's iron. And when it comes to iron, it's the enemy when you come to making any glass or silica products. We've got very long-term projects. We're looking to sign 10-year contracts where with the silica industry, 3 years is regarded as a long-term contract. So we're looking at very long-term projects, and we've got this potential here for ultra-clear glass production from Maluish. And we're actively talking to a couple of the major glass producers to produce glass in Australia. And the economic imperative there is cheap gas. So, and that won't change for quite a while. And if we want to meet the government's initiatives on decarbonising Australia, we need a lot more solar panels. And at the moment, they all come from China. And the federal government is very uncomfortable having a supply chain to one country. So there's a lot of government support to try and manufacture solar panels in Western Australia, or in Australia. So thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Bruce.